All right, guys. I just finished playing Fast Fusion on Nintendo Switch, and unfortunately, I wasn't streaming, so I don't have any gameplay footage to show you. But I've streamed it a couple of times on stream. I think last night actually I played quite a bit of it. So I went through like the first difficulty setting. So I've played every course, I believe, unless there's some new content that I haven't like really discovered yet. Gone through all the tracks, experimented with different vehicles, uncovered like the fusion mechanic. And yeah, like it's really interesting because the narrative has always been that Mario Kart World is the only game on Switch 2. It sucks. It's not a very good racing game. It's unbalanced. And meanwhile, you have Fusion Racing, Fast Fusion. I can never remember the title of this game. You have Fast Fusion right there, which is a new racing game from a smaller studio that's very affordable at $15. That is more of the same of what we got out of Fast Racing Neo, which was also fantastic. So Fast Fusion is basically a tweaked version of what we've already gotten before. We're getting new tracks, we've gotten new mechanics, we have new features. It's more of the same. It's kind of like going from Mario Kart 7 to Mario Kart 8. It's that like they're very, very, very similar, but there are clear upgrades and like revisions and like that just make the experience like way more exciting and interesting. I do think one of my big shortcomings with this game is that like I'm not sure I would say the tracks are better. Like, I haven't played Fast Racing Neo in a long time, but playing these tracks, it does feel like more of the same. It does feel like, I've played the game before. Like, I really wonder, like, what's different, really. But, other than, like, superficial aspects like that, Fast Fusion is awesome. Like this game is just this really intense futuristic racer in which you get into some like high powered vehicle and just like barrel through tracks at supersonic speeds. It's very technical. There's a lot going on. The environments are gorgeous. The models are gorgeous. The sense of speed is really satisfying. The boost system is really interesting. And, a new feature in this game is the ability to jump. With the press of a button. So you can like try and skip portions of the track if you want. There are portions of the track where you're forced to like jump if you're going to like keep your momentum going. Definitely a really welcome, interesting addition to the formula. And I can tell you, having played this game, it's far superior to something like F-Zero GX, which is stilted, which is boring, which is glitchy as all out, which is just completely unplayable, which fanboys love to say is difficulty. Fast Fusion is just so much better made and so much more engaging and so much fun. It is absolutely one of the better day one Switch launch titles, which unfortunately has been completely buried by Mario Kart World. I've been saying this for a long time. Like, I don't know what Shinan was thinking when they released this day one, like alongside Mario Kart, because like nobody is talking about like Fast Fusion right now. And it is a shame because this game is like positively like genuinely well made, engaging, fun, exciting, and yet like, it just got buried by Mario Kart World. All the people seething about Mario Kart World right now are not talking about Fast Fusion. Like they complain about the difficulty of Mario Kart World. Fast Fusion's right there. They complain about like how the game doesn't reward enough skilled players enough. Fast Fusion is right there. Like this is a really good example of just how delusional and out of touch like the Mario Kart World hate community actually is. Because there's another racing Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive that exists that's moderately successful that seems to be that caters more to that mindset, the more competitive, like intense, like racing game that rewards skill. Like again, this is supposedly what these people want, and yet they would rather sit there and complain about Mario Kart World instead. It's embarrassing. It really is, and Fast Fusion really deserves better. And I do think that Shunen really needs to like expand their repertoire a bit because like the last game I played for them was Fast Racing Fusion. No. Yeah, I did play the Tourist, which I believe is from them, which is completely different. But like I feel like in a lot of ways like Shunen's kind of only known for fast racing. And I do think there's a reason for that. We're not getting F-Zero games right now. There's not a whole lot of like competition in the sphere. They've been consistently releasing games on Nintendo platforms, so they've cultivated like a really dedicated niche audience for this for these games. But at the same time, it's like, I do kind of feel like maybe they need to be like thinking about how to do things a little bit differently because it's kind of weird playing this game and kind of feeling like it does kind of feel like a rehash to Fast Racing Neo to a certain extent. You have the same cars, you have the same like vibe with the tracks. I don't know. I liked Fast Racing Neo a lot, but there definitely is this sense that like it's been 10 years, and yet like there just doesn't seem to be like that much advancement. It doesn't seem to be that much of an improvement. It's just more of the same. And there's definitely nothing wrong with that, but I did have this feeling playing through this that they could have done something like to shake up the gameplay a little bit. And like I don't know. It's definitely an interesting question to be sure. Because the game is definitely well made, it's definitely engaging, and it's definitely going to be appealing to like people who have played the older games. But at the same time, it's like it definitely does feel like they do need to like innovate a little bit more and try to like do something a little bit different and to like try and then try to evolve their formula because I do think 10 years for like kind of a bare bones sequel is kind of disappointing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being overly critical. Like I am comparing this to Mario Kart World after all, which is a far more like compact, amazing, like condensed experience. That's another thing with like Fast Fusion. Like it excels at what it does, but it doesn't really do anything outside of that narrow sphere. As opposed to Mario Kart World, which has a ton of variety and things to do in it. Fast Fusion seems kind of like bare bones in comparison, but it's also a budget title. So it's just one of those things. Like if you're looking for like a more affordable racing game on Switch, like you are not going to find a better option than this. Like that's just the reality of it. But you do have to keep in mind like, the very real limitations of this kind of like budget title. They're not going to have like all these features. They're not going to have a whole lot of options. They're not going to have like a wide range of different tracks. Like Fast Fusion is excellent for what it is, but there can be no denying that there is a huge benefit to developing games with more resources at a higher price point.